You can turn it off so background noise doesn't disturb. But is this your first time joining us? Oh, okay, good. I hope that you were able to share it based on the Likutey Moharan and the prior halachos that we learned. And if not, maybe you'll be able to listen to them after tonight. And also, YYK, is this your first time joining us? Welcome back, Pamela. Okay. Maybe some folks are logging on with different logon names and I'm not recognizing them. Or maybe it's a function of age. I don't know. Okay, let's get started. Welcome back, everybody. I really meant to start by thanking Hashem for giving me another opportunity to get together with you and to learn and to share the wisdom of the Nachman and of Nassim, and the opportunity to hopefully inspire and guide all of us towards a closer avodas Hashem that brings us closer to Hashem. I also want to thank Yossi Katz and Reb Chaim Kramer for making this forum possible. Without their efforts, tireless efforts, and commitment to spreading the words of Rabbeinu Zal and Nassim, we wouldn't have this opportunity. So thank you very much for them as well. Okay, let's get started. We spoke last week about the concept of there were four different kinds of arba amos, three different kinds of arba amos, four amos. Last week we discussed the one in the Rishus HaRabim with regard to wherever a person is in the public domain, they have sway, they have control over four amos all around them at all times. It's always within their control. And that's the four amos within which they find those sparks of holiness that then they are able to engage in an appropriate and effective business dealing situations with everybody. And by identifying through emes, through truth, always doing your business transactions and interactions with truth, a person is zoche, he merits to be able to find and extract those nitzosas hakedoshim, the holy sparks of Hashem, and that's really what we're after when we engage in business. We're going to start tonight with the next component of the four amos, and it has to do with the four amos when people who have a shared interest in a chutzir, in a courtyard, divide up that courtyard. Everyone gets four amos in front of their door, and those four amos are designated. Each section of four amos in front of the door is designated for that house and that door specifically, and it's non-negotiable, generally speaking. And so we're going to see now the real spiritual significance of those four amos. Ezras Hashem. So Rav Nassim says, "Ki isa b'hatorah hamascheles tohomas yachas yumu," because there is in the Torah, in the lesson of, in the depths that will cover them, which is our lesson that we learned. Lesson 9. Al pasuk Zohar Tasa L'Teva, on the pasuk dealing with the with Tevas Noah's ark, that he was told to make a tzohar, which we said was either a stone which generates its own light, or it's a window which allows light to pass through it. I and Shawn, look over there. We're not going to do any sort of review on those topics tonight. We're going straight to this one because I hope to finish this section tonight and then be able to do part of a new section on our last session, which is next week. The haklal, and the rule is When a person is deep, deep, deep in darkness, the let's say, and he can't get out of it. What do we mean when he's in darkness? What does that even mean? We're talking about that a person looks at their situation as bleak. Or we could be talking about a person doesn't have the right advice in a particular, which way do I go? Do I turn left? Do I turn right? Do I buy? Do I sell? What do I do? I have a lack of clarity in my life, and that is described here as choshech, darkness. Azai, and especially also spiritual darkness. A person feels like they're spiritually far away, that they are not connected to Hashem or to Kedusha, to holiness. It's a terrible kind of darkness, and it leads to all sorts of unsavory consequences, like people giving up and turning away, God forbid. But we're going to see tonight a whole new way of approaching this darkness. It's unbelievable. And the only thing I kept thinking to myself when I was reviewing this before tonight, or actually it was also tonight, was Reb Noson's words to me sound like a symphony. I mamish literally hear music playing in the background with all the different components of the orchestra coming together in a wonderful, wonderful sound that is, it's just overwhelming. I don't understand how this could not inspire somebody to a tremendous degree and give someone the tools that they need to succeed and improve themselves and to do better in all areas. So I'm hoping that we're able to all experience that tonight. Azai, eager to kanasa shiamshich atzma lahaemes. The main thing that he needs to do is to shiamshich atzma lahaemes. He needs to draw himself to truth. That's the foundation of the whole thing. V'yabid rak al haemes la'amito. And he should look only at the truth of the truth. In other words, go right to the truth of the matter. And similarly with prayer. When a person is standing there davening. Now, just pause there for a second, because I was thinking that, a person would say, well, I'm not lying when I'm speaking to God. God forbid. I mean, what kind of person would actually stand up to daven and to pray and not be honest with the Creator to whom he's praying? But the reality is, when we sometimes pray, we know what we're supposed to say, or we know what we want to be saying, but that's not really the truth for us at that moment. I could say to Hashem, for example, oh, Hashem, I want to be learning 20 hours a day. In reality, I may not be wanting to learn 20 hours a day. I'm not at that point. So for me to then say, well, this is what I want, or this is what I'm asking for, it might be lofty, it might be wonderful, it might be a great thing, but it's not emes. It's not where I'm at. It's not at the very place where I'm at. We're going to see this idea develop. So whenever you daven, don't say what you think Hashem wants to hear. Hashem knows where you are. So when somebody says something that's so incongruous with where they are, Hashem says, who's this guy that's talking to me? It's ridiculous. It sounds silly almost. I don't understand. Where is he coming from, this guy? So don't say what you want Hashem to hear. Rather say what you need to say because it's the truth. Welcome, TRH. Welcome aboard. I hope you enjoyed this evening's cheer. Okay. As a general rule, after this point, I'm not going to make any more introductions because I don't want it to be distracting. I'm just excited when other people join us. Okay. The Azai. Haklipos misavinoso. The klipos are the foreign ideas, thoughts that we have when we're trying to focus our minds. They're also the taivos ros, the bad desires that we have to work hard to overcome. So these klipos come, and they very much confuse this guy. So you have the poor hapless guy who's trying to say a few words to Hashem, either in his bodhidus or in formalized davening, and all of a sudden he's being bombarded. Kamo, as it says, excuse me while I change the slide. Kamo shekasuv, it says in the pasuk. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Kamo shekasuv, sav v'shamius alochim. Round about the evil ones go. So in other words, there is a concentration of evil that surrounds a person who's trying to fill himself with kedusha, with holiness. Understanding that that's the way the spiritual system is designed is very, very helpful. Because when a person is trying and they feel like they're not succeeding, they think that there's something inherently wrong with them. When in reality, it's not them as much as it is the way the system is set up. So if a person anticipates having resistance, then he realizes, oh, this is what the Torah told me to be aware of and to be aware of. So now I can deal with it properly. But if you don't know that that's the mechanism and you're trying and you think you're failing and you're meeting all of this resistance, then it's bad news because you think that it's worthless, it's hopeless, there's nothing you can do. So his main thing should be that he should see that he's saying what he's saying in his prayer with truth, on whatever level he's at. I'll call upon him nevertheless. He should say it with simple truth. Very important. I'm going to repeat it. Don't say what in your prayers, what you think Hashem wants you to say, or what you think Hashem wants to hear. Say where you're at and be it absolutely 100% true. That's what will make Hashem join the equation, turn on the light of Hashem Ori, and will show you the Yeshuos, the salvations, the doorways, the eitzos, the advice, the remedies, whatever it is, he'll show it to you. But first you got to bring him into the equation. This speaking with truth will shine and show him the way out of the darkness. Because emes is the light of Hashem himself, kiviyachol, so to speak. Because of course Hashem isn't light. Hashem can't be anything physical, but Hashem is light from our perspective. V'chinas Hashem Ori, like we said before, Hashem Ori, Hashem is my light. Ki Hashem Yisbarachu etzem ha'emes, because Hashem is the epitome of truth, the alkain, and therefore al yidei ha'emes Hashem Yisbarach me'er lo, through speaking things of truth, Hashem will shine for him. The zocha leros hapsachim, he'll be zocha, he'll merit to be able to see the doorways. How to get out of his situation, how to get out of his darkness. Because in truth there are many doorways there. I didn't mean to say but I just realized I'm starting at the beginning of the halacha. I meant to start at halacha paragraph out. It's not bad. This is a review. We'll just finish this paragraph up and then we'll zoom to halacha daled. I kept waiting for it to start because usually he starts with a little review. So and the Sitra Achra, he confuses everything and makes those doorways seem like they're not really there. But you don't see them, even though they are there. And through speaking truth, it shines truth, to see the doorways, and to be able to get out of the darkness. And through emes, you'll be zoche to daven, and once you can be zoche to daven, you'll be zoche to parnasa. Now, see, I said I wasn't going to do any review, and Hashem showed me otherwise. So give me 1 second, find the correct slide, and we will start with tonight's halacha. We were up to section daled, and I apologize for that, although it wasn't bad to do a quick review. All right. So here we are. Now I'm really excited because now I had that little mania there, that little distraction, little obstacle. Okay, it was meant to be a little review. All right. V'zeh b'chinas arba amos shenosim lifnei Pesach. Now this, is Reb Nosson, is the 4 amos that go before the doorway. And that's how I started tonight, saying that's what we're going to discuss. Yes. The David's family says the review was helpful. Thank you. Okay. Shenosim lifnei Pesach, that they give, halacha gives 4 amos before the doorway, lefarik shamaso, to take off his burden. In other words, his packages. Literally, the thing he's carrying is his masa, to be able to put down his packages. So you need an area to take off what you're carrying. Ki ikar kahakinyanim hachafatzim sha'adam heim bebeso. Because the main place for a person where he brings all of his items and all of his acquisitions, where does a person bring all those things that he gathers, that he earns, that he finds, that he buys? He doesn't leave them outside. You bring them into the house. Shisham makam mishumar, because that's a guarded place. You wouldn't go to this grocery store and leave the groceries on the front lawn. You bring them into the house where they're protected, and you'll know that you have them when you need them. Shamheim birshuso, and in his home, they're within his rishus, within his domain. Avokol hashiruso lahom beso. However, all of wealth and financial capacity or gain of the family, that has to come from outside the home. And outside the home doesn't mean just physically. People go, I work from the home, I do all my stuff online. Okay, but you have to reach outside of yourself. You have to reach beyond the boundary of being secluded in your own home with no access to the outside. So whether it's you're actually going out there, going to work and commuting somewhere, or you work from home, you're still interfacing with an outside world. That's the idea. So you have to go out there, and then you have to bring it into the house. You have to go out to the marketplace. And that's the public domain. To do your business dealing. And to identify and separate the wealth there. In other words, you have to find the parnasa in the marketplace, and bring it in from the outside to the inside. And therefore business, masomatan, generally speaking, the phrase for business is referred to as tzeischa, your goings out. How so? Because it says in the pasuk, smach zvulin b'tzeischa. Happy or fortunate are you, Zvulun, in your goings out. So they see that going out and earning a parnasa and business dealings is associated with the word tzeischa, because it comes from the outside, and it's something you go out to get and then you bring in. The whole zman shu b'shvil beru hanitzos hakdoshin shenoflim b'komas hachitzonim, and the whole time is so that he can extract and single out the nitzosas hakadoshim, the holy sparks that have fallen to all of the wayward outside places. So we discussed this, that when Hashem created the world, his essence, all of the nitzosas hakadoshim that Hashem created the world with, went flying all over the universe. And when we go out into that big, vast universe, trying to earn our livelihood, we're actually trying to find those sparks of holiness and bring them back. Levchinas Rishus HaRabim, they're out there in the Rishus HaRabim, in the public domain. Okay, and therefore, Efshar lahamshich ha'ashirus, it's impossible to draw the wealth, ki im ali de shiotzi tzas lechutz, unless you're willing to go outside even a little bit, the Rishus HaRabim, to the public domain. Because the Ashiras come from the Nitzosas HaKadoshim, they come from the holy sparks, so the holy sparks are out there. If you're going to stay where you are and not venture out into the Rishus Harabim, then you're not going to get them. However, going into the Rishus Harabim is a somewhat tenuous environment. It's a dangerous place. I'm not sure what would happen there. So a person has to be careful, as we discussed before. So he's got to go into the Rishus Harabim to do his business dealings, to be able to find those sparks. And to bring home all that he earned, Sham, there, michutz lifnim, from the outside to the inside. Ya'kein, and therefore nosim lo arba amos lifnei Pesach. And that's why we give every person 4 amos in front of their door. Because that's where the line is between outside and inside. That's where I've gone out to the Rishus Harabim, I've found what I found, I've earned what I've earned, and I want to bring it in. That 4 amos is the pivotal transition point from the Rishus Harabim to the Rishus Hayachid, to inside your home. And that's why we want to make sure every door has that 4 amos space to be able to conduct this kind of activity. Because the fix or repair of finding all of these sparks is by bringing them into the house. You want to bring them home. Because the main ambush, ma'arav is an ambush. The sitra achra, the negative spiritual forces in the world, where are they hiding? They are hiding mamish, literally at your door. You won't see them, but that's where they are. They're spiritual forces. Ki ikar ma'arav shah sitra achra, the main place where the sitra achra is laying in ambush. La klipos, and the klipos, as we discussed before, who eitzel haPesach, is by the doorway. Who eitzel haPesach the kedusha, it's by the doorway of kedusha. So the holier you're trying to be, and the holier your home is, there's going to be a challenge on the outside by the doorway. Shisham hem ropsim ba'orvim, because that's where they're lying, and that's what, meaning laying down. They're also lying in the other sense, but they're laying down. Ba'orvin, and they're ready to ambush. The shomim, and they're guarding. Levli lahaniach lichnos l'toch pischei hakdusha, in order to prevent anything from coming into the doors of kedusha. So what a person does is he goes out there and he earns what he earns, and he wants to bring it home so that he can do more good with it. He can raise and feed a family. He can Torah and do mitzvahs. The sitra achra does not want that to happen, and therefore it lies at the door and says, "We're going to stop it right here. We're going to do everything in our power, God forbid, to prevent that person from actually bringing those earnings into the home." Because the klipos are called the neture tara, the guardians of the gate, so to speak. And they're standing by the door. And they're not allowing anything to come in. Ad asher yizke l'shabram, until you merit, until you're able to break them, meaning the klipos, these negative spiritual forces. And this is what the pasuk means when it says, when Hashem told Cain, and I have the Chumash here because I wanted to quote the pasuk inside and also the Rashi. Pasuk says, Halo in Tetev says, if you do good, this was after Cain killed Hevel, and he was lamenting what he had done, and he was afraid of what's going to happen to him. Hashem says to him, Halo in Tetev says, if you do good, fine, then you'll be forgiven. The im lo, and if not, V'im lo teitev, and if you do not do good, the pesach chatos rovates. By the door, sin lies. Ve'elecha chukaso, and on you is its desire. Meaning the sin has you in its crosshairs, literally. V'ata timshabo, but you can rule over it. You can rule over the negative, destructive, and sometimes self-destructive spiritual forces. You do not have to fall victim to your own imagination, to your own thoughts, to your own taivos, to anything. You have the power to choose to rise above it and to not fall victim to it. Rashi says, the Pesach Chatas Rovetz, that this sin is lying by the door. The Pesach Kivracha, by the door it will be your grave. Chetacha Shamor, your sin is preserved. Not a very optimistic outlook. Rashi continues and says, the Elecha Chukaso, and against you, about you, is its desire. In other words, the sin, the hate wants you to do it, wants you to come along with it. Shalchatos, of the sin, who Yetzer Hara, this is the Yetzer Hara, this is the evil inclination. Tamid okeko misada, it constantly, strongly lahachshilcha, to trip you up, to make you fail. So this is the playing field we're dealing with here. It's not easy. It's not a simple playing field. So recognizing that this is what we're up against, we need some powerful tools, and we need to be aware of it. We need to be vigilant all the time about watching out to see whether this Sitra Achra is getting the best of us, to see whether it's trying to undermine us. We have to monitor, just like on a security fence around a building or around an area. You have to monitor it, and you have to respond to it unequivocally, definitively, that no, I am not going to allow this to overwhelm me. So that's the pasuk from Bereshis. Continues from Nasan. Shahachadin is the Sitra Achra, literally meaning the other side, meaning the Yetzer Hara. Rovetz is al Pesach, is lying right by the door. The Kamosha Kosov, as it says, Ushayim al Sha'aret Tzedek, that the wicked are by the gates of the righteous. So Pasuk in Mishlei is telling us very clearly that wicked things congregate, in a sense, right outside the door to righteousness. Again, this is the way it's supposed to be, so that we have free choice to make qualitative decisions in our lives about how we want to live. We have to be aware that this is what's going on. So that's what this is all about. Shahar Shayim, that the wicked ones, that are the klipos, again, klipos is synonymous with evil desires, wrong desires, bad thoughts. When I say bad thoughts, I mean like non-holy thoughts that take us away from emunah in Hashem, or a pure avodas Hashem, a service of Hashem. That's what I mean by klipos. Omdim al sha'aret tzaddik. So they are standing, or they camp out right in front of the door of the tzaddik. Shehem shari kedusha. Those are the gates of holiness. And they try not to let anything get in. But the main way to subjugate them, to subdue them, is through emes, as we said above. Because through the light of truth, you'll see the doorway. So we said this before, but now this language of Pesach has a dual meaning to it in a very strong sense. Before we were talking, very esoterically, you're in darkness and you're going to see doorways around you, meaning you'll find answers to the problems that you have in your life, perhaps. But here we're talking literally. We're talking about the doorway to your house. I can see the door. I open the doorway to go through it. We're talking about the physical doorway. So it does have that double meaning in this context. So these evil forces are right outside the door, but through MS, it disbands them. Lichnos b'chutz lifnim, to go from, to enter from the outside to inside. Ki mi she'eino roy lichnos lifnim, that anybody that's not fit to go inside, monin also on Tara lichnos. These dark forces, the guardians or the guards of the gate, prevent those things from coming in. So in our context, when we're talking about earning a living, a person goes out and works for the day, comes home, let's say he has X number of dollars, he wants to come home, he wants to be able to save them, to use them, etc., for the benefit of, but if he doesn't have the right kavanos, if he's not doing things in the correct way with MS, right? So what happens is these dark forces now can take over, and they say, we're not letting you. It may, to the person, it looks like, oh, look, I brought it in. He's not going to notice a difference, Lamaisa. He's not going to notice anything is going on. But what's going to happen is this income that he has ultimately will not prove to be beneficial for him, because he got it not through the mechanism of MS. I believe in the first year, or one of the first year, I said, yeah, a person could achieve his wealth in an inappropriate manner through lying and stealing, etc. But it won't be a positive result. It won't end in a positive way for him. The Inka Kohung, and the main thrust of their strength, limnoa, in preventing the person from bringing home what he earned, there is that the fact that they're laying in front of the door. I almost wish that everybody, when they leave tomorrow from their homes and they come back home, they put on a different pair of glasses and say, oh, now I can see what all of these dark spiritual forces lying at the door. I better make sure that what I've done today came through MS. Otherwise, they're going to put the kibosh on it, basically. So they lie in front of the door, and they make it dark in front of the person, until he's not able to find the door. Again, the door meaning not only the door to his house, which we're going to see an example of that in a minute, but we're also going, but also the doorways of how his efforts can be utilized effectively, appropriately, and properly and healthfully and beneficially for him. So that's also what we're talking about. Kiba MS ain shumaniya klal. The Nassim says, in reality, it's all a smokescreen. There's absolutely no mania at all. Isn't that interesting to learn that some of the biggest challenges that we have in life, they don't really exist. That's it. Nassim saying it right here. Ki be'emes ein shum mania klal. In truth, there's really no obstacle in front of you. Rak ha'ika ha'choshech. Really the only mania, the only obstacle is the fact that there's darkness. Shenikra mania. And a darkness is called a mania. Kamosha Kosev, a mania is an obstacle. Kamosha Kosev, as it says, v'lo chasachta, you did not hold back. So by Avram Avinu, when he was about to shech as a korban, Yitzchak, the Malach came and stopped him at the last moment, and he said, now I see that you didn't withhold your son from me. V'lo chasachta, you didn't withhold your son from me. But if you look carefully at the word chasachta, you see the word choshech, darkness. Meaning, because Abraham had clarity, there was no darkness. I mean, it's so beautiful. In general, I mean, Hebrew and lessons like these that literally shine a light on how to interpret these words and these psukim. It's amazing. As Adam, this that they now maramin means like to lie to somebody. It means fraud. It means a big lie. This that they're lying to the person, with confusions and with garbage, silliness. And they're pulling, like the expression says, they're pulling the wool over his eyes. They're darkening, they're making it dark in front of his eyes. Like grabbing a hold of his eyes. Until it seems to the person that there's no door in order, there's no opening, there's no opportunity for that person to get close to Hashem. So again, I'm underscoring, to earn a living, somebody wants to do it the wrong way, yeah, you could do it the wrong way. What we're after is lehiskarev laHashem. We want that parnasa that we're earning to ultimately bring us closer to Hashem and to be healthy in a physical and spiritual way for us. That's what we want. So a person is so surrounded by this smoke screen of darkness that he doesn't see the doorways. But really, the Nelson says it doesn't even exist. Unbelievable. The only thing that exists is the darkness it's creating by convincing us that there's nothing we can do. But in truth, a pathway of life has been placed in front of every person in the world. Because there is a doorway. He's just got to ignore the darkness, and he's got to replace it with and turn on the light through MS. Even in the lowest depths of Gehenna, person is capable of getting close to Hashem. As our rabbi has told us many times, but it's just that a person's blind. And he doesn't see the doors. It's not that he's not intelligent. It's not that he hasn't been educated. It's not that he's not skilled. But when it comes to these spiritual matters, it's like he's blind. He doesn't see it. He's not aware. Because these klipos that are called choshech have darkened everything. And that's what the main mania is. That's what the main obstacle to overcome is. So if the main obstacle is the darkness, because in truth there is no other obstacle there at all, then the way to overcome that obstacle is through light, and that comes through MS. So I hope when I make those little comments here and there, that connects the chain in the thought process, if it hasn't already been connected for you. Shehem machshichen or einav shall adam ad she'en roah pesach. So these dark forces are darkening the eyes of a person until he can't find the doorway. Now here's the example I referred to before. The bechinas ve'es ha'anashim pesach habayis hiku b'sanverim. So you all know the story that when Abraham first Abraham met with the Malachim went down to Sodom, and they were going to destroy it. And Lot, who wasn't supposed to allow guests to come into the home, allowed them in. And sure enough, an angry crowd gathered outside the door, and they were about to break the doors down. So how do you fight this? The way to fight it is to make them blind, so they can't find the door. So this is an example. As I've said so many times before, when Nachman doesn't learn Chumash and say, oh, that was the way it happened. The Torah is just telling us what happened in the past. But rather, the Torah is telling us a mechanism to how it happens every single moment throughout history. So whenever you have a door, and whenever that door has on one side Kedusha, because at that moment, Lot was performing the mitzvah of Haknesas Orchim, and the Malachim were in there. Then axiomatically, on the other side of that door, you are going to have the Rishayim, and they are going to try to get in. And then you have the darkness that in Kamya, as demonstrated here, that they were smitten by that darkness, by that blindness. And they were unable to find the doorway. Because somebody who's not appropriate to enter, they darken his eyes. This This is the idea of that kind of blindness. Ad shehu lo limtzah pesach. And they make him so blind that he can't find the doorway. So the next time you're thinking that you don't have the eitzah to something, it's because it's too dark for you to see that eitzah, that advice, that solution at that very minute. What you need to do, says Reb Nosson, is daven. And you need to daven and say things that are emes in order to open those pathways. There's no wisdom and there's no understanding. And there's no eitzah. In other words, there's no solution. Lama kenegam, to stand against these dark forces, ki'im al yedei ha'emes, except through truth. Sheb'chol makom shehu, and in every place, sarich lehistakel rak al ha'emes na'amito. A person has to make his best effort or her best effort to look at things truthfully. Parenthetically, if a person looks at their lives and says, well, I am being truthful, everything in my life is terrible. Well, that's not entirely truthful, because most of us have several good things in our life that even though we may be going through a challenging time, we could stop and say, no, we can take stock and say, we have very many good things as well. And that would be the MS approach, not just to acknowledge or to notice one side of the equation, but to acknowledge both sides. That was just a parenthetical. And to draw himself only to speaking MS. Ba'asher hu sham. Very important 3 words. Ba'asher hu sham. Those words were said about Yishmael because Yishmael wasn't the biggest tzaddik starting out, but the Malachim, but Yishmael was able to be saved because at that moment he had not done anything inappropriate or wrong. So Ba'asher hu sham, you have to look at yourself as you are at that moment. Good, bad, or indifferent, however you are. Take a snapshot of where you are or what you're experiencing and say it truthfully and honestly to Hashem. And speak words of truth in his prayer, and in his supplications, meaning the things that you're asking Hashem to be gracious to you for, to grace you with. If he mashu, with whatever it is. Excuse me. Even though he can't daven, even though he's not really even at the stage yet where he can daven and really say something between himself and between Hashem. Nevertheless, Yira al Kapadim, nevertheless, see to it that you say what you're saying with emes, with truth. Kagon, for example, and he brings us an example, and I was quite grateful when I learned this example. Kagon Shioma, Reb Nosson says, like the person will say, Rebbono Shalom, the master of the world, Hoshieni, save me. You want Hashem to save you. So it could be as simple as that. It just has to reflect what you truly want and where you truly are. And to say the words in truth, al kapanim, at the very least, just say the words truthfully. And the same is true with other words. Nevertheless, you should just make sure to say them at the very least in truth. At the very least. Even if he can't find the ability to daven with a lot of fervor and a lot of kavana and a lot of other things that he thinks he should daven with, forget about all that. If you're not in that spirit or that mindset at that moment, don't worry. Just see to it that what you say comes out of your mouth is what you mean in your heart. Nevertheless, you should say them in simple truth. And then the emes will do its work. It'll bring in Hashem with his light, and you'll see the doorways. And then you'll be able to bring things into the kedusha. He'll be also able to enter into a state of kedusha. Ki ein shum mania ba'olam kana, as we said above, because there is, in reality, no mania. There is no obstacle. V'tekef kisharoyan hapesach nichnasen, and right away when he sees the doorway, nichnasen, hakadusha levatach, then the holiness takes over. So this is what we're up to so far. Paragraph Hey. He's gonna bring it home. This is what we talked about when we talked about giving everybody 4 amos before the door. Lefarik sham maso, to take off his burden in that area. It's like almost like a changing room coming from the public domain to the private domain. Ki ha'arba amos hem bechinas or ha'emes, because the 4 amos are the light of truth. Because they're drawn from the name of Hashem. Because Hashem's name has 4 letters, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and these Dalet Amos, also Dalet is 4. We're going to discuss that a little bit more at the end. It gets a little deeper than that. Shehu Bechinas HaMezuzah She'etz Al Pesach, and this is the idea of having a mezuzah by the door. Shehi Shem Hashem, because that's Shem Hashem. And the mezuzah is Shem Hashem. Ki ikar kaviyas hamezuzah hu b'shvil legarish hachitzonim, because the main reason why we put up the mezuzah is in order to be megarish, to send away the chitzonim, these outside forces, shishor metzal pesach, that are residing. They took up residence right outside your door. You wouldn't let somebody live in your house without paying rent. Don't let these scoundrels live there either. Therefore, the mezuzah is an important component to acquiring wealth. Why? Because it reminds you and it protects you from these chitzonim that are hanging out by the front door, and reminds you to do what you need to do so that anything you do bring home, they can't get near. Etc. Okay. Because the main idea about ashiras, meaning wealth, is to be able to gather and bring in these sparks of holiness, from the outside to the inside. Mishus harabim l'soch habayis, from the public domain into the house. This is the idea of all the business transactions that we're doing, so we can bring it home. And all of this comes about through the zechus through the merit of the mitzvah of the mezuzah. Excuse me. Because the main thing about gathering all of these sparks of kedusha, or the wealth, the money that we earn, is to be able to bring it home. Shisham ikar hamilchama, out there, that's where the main battle is. Im hasitra achra, with the sitra achra, shirabetza seitzala pesach, that's lying by the door. Daika specifically, that's where it is. The alkain, and therefore, al yedei mezuzah, through when someone puts up a mezuzah, so al yedei zeh megarishin osamen pesach, you can clean house by the front of the door. Yeah, and the mezuzah also reminds us to act appropriately when we go out to do our business dealings, and that's the guarantee that when we do earn, we'll be able to bring it home and it'll be beneficial for us. Then he'll be able to bring home lots of these nitzotzos from outside to inside, lots of these sparks. Okay, therefore, Zochen al yedei zeh la'ashiras gadol. He'll merit a tremendous amount of wealth. Again, this is not Reb Nosson telling us it's a guarantee that oh, well, I said something truthfully when I was in business today, so therefore I should expect that I'm going to earn $1 million in the next week. That's not what we're talking about. Sometimes a person has a lot of wealth, they wind up in jail. Sometimes a person has a lot of wealth and he God forbid, suffers a loss that eats up a lot of it. There's a lot of ways that any amount of wealth that a person has doesn't necessarily transfer into ashiras, being wealthy. Being wealthy means you have what you need, and you have an intense sense of gratification and satisfaction with what you have. That's wealth. Some people have more and they're not happy. That's not ashiras, and they are happy. So that's a greater level of ashiras in truth. The main ashiras comes from extracting and identifying these sparks. Therefore, we give everybody 4 amos before a doorway that's mechuyev in a mezuzah, that's obligated in mezuzah. In other words, when we talked about dividing the area, the courtyard, and giving every doorway its own arba amos, that doorway has to be the kind of doorway that qualifies for a mezuzah. If the doorway doesn't qualify for mezuzah, we don't have to worry about giving it 4 amos, because a doorway that doesn't qualify for mezuzah is not a doorway that you're going to be walking through. So therefore, it's not an actual doorway. But an actual doorway that's mechuyev in mezuzah, that's obligated in a mezuzah, that's the kind of doorway that requires these 4 amos of Hashem, of the Yud Kei Vav Kei. Kibaya she'en chai b'mezuzah, because a house that's not obligated in the mezuzah ain't nosem ala amos the pesachot. You don't give 4 amos to its opening. If it's just a little lean-to or something like that, it doesn't qualify. Because these 4 amos hein bechinas or ha'emes hanimshach mishem Hashem. Because these 4 amos are representative of the light of truth that's drawn from the name of Hashem, the name of Hashem that's on the mezuzah. Which is the mezuzah by the door. I bet you never heard this about a mezuzah before. It's beautiful. Because you need to draw the or ha'emes out there when you're engaging the world in business and in interaction. You need to draw the emes with you in that process. And that's the idea of these 4 amos that they give them before the door, that you'll be able to see the doorway, obviously when you're coming back, and you'll be able to go through it and bring in through it and to bring into it maso, his packages, his burden, in other words, the things that he's now acquired. Shuha ashiris, that's the wealth. Shabira mechutz, that he found on the outside. Shi'i efshar lachnisa lifnim isocha pesach, because it will be impossible for him to get those things inside the house. Ki im al yedei or ha'emes, unless he utilizes the light of truth. And this is what our rabbis of blessed memory say. These 4 amos they give to every door in order for him to remove his packages, remove the burden on, like, imagine somebody carrying his packages on his back. Right now it's a masa, it's his burden, so to speak, as he's carrying it. He needs 4 amos before he goes inside to take that package off. This is what he's carrying, the wealth that he's carrying from the outside. And as long as the whole time that he has not yet brought them inside the house, it's considered a masa, his burden. Why? Because it's not completely guarded. So in other words, a person can say, oh, wow, this is great. He earned $100 today. He's very happy. Must have been quite a number of years ago, but be that as it may. And he's walking home. And meanwhile, on the way, God forbid, someone comes and attacks him and mugs him and takes away his $100. So now he doesn't have it. Why doesn't he have it? Because he wasn't able to get home with it. He wasn't able to get it to a safe place. So the whole time he's got these earnings, so to speak, or these packages, it's a tremendous burden for him until he's brought them home and placed them securely in his home, in the safe, in the hidden place, wherever he puts it. It's constantly going to be on his mind. It's constantly going to be nagging. Am I going to be able to successfully get these things home? I'm still in a dangerous environment, but I want to be able to get them home where they'll be safe. Because these exterior negative forces can still take hold of them. And they attack him and ambush him. And that's why they're called amasai. His earnings are still considered to be quote unquote burdensome because he's concerned about them. And this is the idea also of, so the notion is actually three different definitions for the word masa, a burden or a package. The first was, as we said, it's what he earned, and he's now trying to get it home safely so that he can have it. Now the second explanation of shehi bechinas havanos, a masa is sheim bechinas haklipa, that are synonymous with the klipa. So in other words, when a person sins, so I've heard it expressed like this. Sometimes when a person sins, God forbid, he'll get a punishment for what he did. But the reality is that the sin itself is the punishment. So in other words, a person who does an aveira, God forbid, he might say, well, I'm not so concerned about the punishment. Let's say he says such a thing. Or he's not thinking about the punishment. But the reality is that the sin itself is part and parcel of the punishment. Why? Because the sin itself is what takes us away from Hashem. And distance from Hashem is never a good thing for a person. We're trying, through all of these discussions and learnings and Torah and mitzvahs and everything else, to get closer to Hashem. But a sin, an avera, does the opposite. It takes a person away. So the sin winds up being actually the punishment itself. As it says, Roshi, my sins have overwhelmed my head, Kamasa Kaved, like a heavy burden. It's so heavy for me. I can't even hold it anymore. This is David HaMelech speaking. Gam haklipos hen bechinos el acher. So too the klipos, excuse me, are within the framework, context of, excuse me, a false god. Why? Kafiros shnikran masai. Because kafira, now this is, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have read it so quickly. That was the second explanation. The first one was the packages themselves are a burden. The second one was that the sin a person has creates a burdensome experience and reality for the person. And now we're saying that the third definition is kfira, heresy, meaning not believing in Hashem, in His Torah, etc. And that's called a masai. Nachman says, "Shakfiros nikrai masa," that heresy is called a masa. It's called a burden. As it says in the pasuk, "Masa'achem," your burdens. I'm going to read that pasuk in a second. A Perish Rashi, and this is the last slide for tonight. We may go a couple of minutes over, but I think it'll be worth it to finish the lesson, just to show you what we have left, not much. So I hope you'll be able to bear with me an extra couple of minutes. Perish Rashi, Malamed, Shaya Apikorsim, etc. So if you look in the Chumash, Parshas Devarim, says Moshe Rabbeinu, how Eicha esa lavadi. How can I alone carry? Tarchachem. A tircha is a trouble, something that's a trouble to deal with. Let me just make this bigger. So Moshe Rabbeinu is almost lamenting, how can I continue to carry your troubles, and your burden, and your quarrels, your arguments. So listen to this Rashi, if you're not already familiar with it. Excuse me. Tachem, Masachem, rather, on the word and your burden. Malamed, this is the Rashi that Reb Nassim is quoting. Shahayo apikorsin, there were those apikorsin, meaning people who were heretics. Hikdim Moshe Letzeis, if Moshe left his home early in the morning to go do what he needed to do, to judge the people, etc. Amru, these Shmendriks, what would they say? Mara ben Amram Letzeis. What is Ben Amram, meaning Moshe Rabbeinu? What does he see that he's leaving so early? Why is he such an early riser today? Let's see. That's kind of like the tonality that it would be. Shema eno shafa desoch beso. Maybe he can't stand to be at home anymore. Maybe he and his wife aren't getting along, and he's too eager to get to work. I'm out of here. I'm going to go to work. Maybe he's running away from home. So when Moshe Rabbeinu actually left early to try to enhance the lives and spirituality of the Jewish people, these apikorim were there saying, oh no, he's probably having trouble at home. Echar, let's say, if there would be a day that Moshe Rabbeinu left a little on the later side, Amru, these apikorim, these heretics would say, Mara ben Amram shelo letzeis. Why did Ben Amram not leave? Why did Moshe not leave? Matam Spurim, what do you think? This is how they would talk to each other. Hey, wow, he's spending a lot of time at home today. What do you think he's up to? And they would be thinking, the choshed, and he's thinking alechem machshavos, about you, thoughts. So in other words, they were accusing Moshe Rabbeinu if he left late, excuse me, of staying home in order to conspire against them. And to think negative thoughts about people. So really, Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't do the right thing in the eyes of the Apikorim. So this is how Rabbi Nachman is explaining the word masa, or masa, a burden, as apikorsis, heresy. Because the Apikorim, when Moshe Rabbeinu said, I cannot stand your burden anymore, masachem, your burden, really what he was referring to is I cannot stand always being accused no matter what I do. If I leave early, there's those who say, oh, I'm having trouble at home. If I leave late, there are people who are saying, oh, I'm staying at home so I can plot against everybody else. And can't win. This is what Moshe was alluding to. And this is the third example. So we have three definitions for a masa. Again, just to review real quickly, the first one was the burden itself, the what you earn is a burden until you can bring it home safely and deposit it where it belongs. The second thing is your sin. God forbid, if somebody sins, that becomes a burden to that person to carry around. And the third thing is this, that amasa is another term that means a heretic, somebody who does not believe in Hashem and in Moshe Rabbeinu and Torah's Moshe. So not good stuff. It's so where does he let go of all of this? He lets go of it at the 4 amos to his door. Because that's where the mezuzah is, and that's where the light of Hashem is shining bright in order to chase away, literally, these negative spiritual forces. And it'll be through this that he'll be able to take off the burden from his shoulder. And it's through this that he's able to negate, to cancel out the grasp of the chitzonim, of the outsiders, meaning the negative forces, or ha'emes, through the mechanism of the light of truth, which is those 4 amos. I'm hoping that this is coming out cogently and clearly. And through this process, he'll be able to bring all of his belongings, michutz lifnim, from the outside to the inside, under the framework of the light of truth, shemeir lo lechutz ad arba amos, that will shine for him from the outside to the inside. Excuse me, that shemeir lo lechutz ad arba amos, that are shining out for him outward for the distance of those 4 amos. And that way, now he'll be able to see the doorway to the house. Because the main thing we're trying to accomplish, the main tikkun, the main fix, the main repair that we're trying to effectuate it with these holy sparks, which represent wealth, is to bring them into the home. Okay, last little section. Now, we also mentioned that there is a different kind of Arba Amos, which is the 4 Amos that a person has in the public domain. So you may be familiar with on Shabbos the idea of a tchum. A tchum means wherever I'm dwelling for Shabbos, I have 2,000 Amos in all directions that I'm allowed to walk. It's like an invisible fence. And when Hashem said that Klal Yisrael should stay in its place on Shabbos, the Chachamim interpreted that to mean 2,000 amos. Now, if somebody lives in a city, then the 2,000 amos first start at the outskirts of that city and go an additional 2,000 amos. But let's say somebody were in the middle of the desert. Let's say I was, for whatever reason, God forbid, in the middle of the desert, and I had to set up my tent for Shabbos. So it's getting dark. I set up my tent. I make my Shabbos preparations. Now it's Shabbos. I have 2,000 amos that I can walk in any direction. Parenthetically, I'll also add, however, if somebody did not do that, in other words, they didn't do a Shvisa Shabbos, they didn't establish where their home base was going to be before Shabbos, Bein HaShmashos, between dusk, but rather it just happened upon them. Let's say maybe they were fast asleep and someone maybe carried them and placed them somewhere, and they woke up and now they're all alone in some place and they don't know where they are, and they realize it's Shabbos. So they were not cognizant of the fact that they were making that their home base for Shabbos. So in that scenario, the person does not have 2,000 amos to walk in every direction. He only has 4 amos to walk because he didn't acquire that place for the sake of Shabbos. So that's a quick overview. I hope it's clear, because there's going to be a distinction made in this paragraph with regard to that. You'll see what I mean. And this is the 4 amos we have in the public domain, that a person has on Shabbos, that within those 4 amos, it's permissible to move things around, just like if it would be in a private domain. Now, we all know that when it's Shabbos, you can't just carry, unless you live in an area that's surrounded by an Eruv, right? But if you don't live in such an area, you can't just walk around and carry things. It's the Rishus Harabim. However, if within a person's 4 amos, he is allowed to carry, as if that were his own domain, and it is. And this is the 4 amos. And this is the 4 amos that a person gets, even if they go outside of the tchum. So that's what I was trying to explain. The edge of the tchum, and we just kept going. And as a result of that, now he's in the middle of nowhere. But now he doesn't have 2,000 amos anymore. But he still has his 4 amos. Those 4 amos are precious. They don't go anywhere. They're always with the person. That even in the Rishus Harabim, in the public domain, which is the place where these negative spiritual forces are holding sway, Shesham also latata b'Shabbos Kodesh. There it's prohibited to move things around on Shabbos Kodesh to carry. Even here, Reb Nosson expands it from a physical perspective to a spiritual perspective. Um, even if a person would go outside of the bounds of holiness. So now we're not talking a linear going outside the bounds. Here we're talking about the bounds of kedusha, of holiness. And a person walked out of them, meaning he went ahead and he did an avera, let's say. Nevertheless, yesh lo arba amos b'chol makom. He still gets 4 amos wherever he is. Wherever he is. Whether we want to talk physically or we want to talk spiritually, he still gets those 4 amos. Those are his. She'elo arba amos, that these 4 amos yesh lahem din reshus hayachid. And these 4 amos have the halachic status of being a private domain, hamukaf mechitzos, as if it was surrounded by a wall. Shuhu bechinas reshus yechido shel olam, because this is the reshus of the yechido shel olam, the single one of the world, of the universe, which is the Rabbanu shel olam, Hashem. Shekavo yud v'rochlo dalid, whose height is 10 and whose width is 4. So, in order to define a private domain, or reshus hayachid, an area needs to be surrounded by walls that are at least 10 tefachim high, and it needs to be an area which is at least 4 by 4 amos. Excuse me. But it's interesting because we call that a reshus hayachid, a private domain. But guess what? We're calling here reshus yechido shel olam. That reshus hayachid, yeah, it's a reshus hayachid. It's your private domain, but it's also the domain of yechido, the singular one of the world, meaning Hashem. Meaning that's where you can find Hashem. Even if the person goes outside the bounds of kedusha, of holiness, wherever he is. It may be unfortunate that he got there to begin with, but that's history. Now he's got to work with what he has, and he does have what to work with. So I just wanted to say that I heard from the Nosson Maimon that Hashem's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei, has 4 letters, and this is what we referred to before, and that those represent the Arba Amos. And then when the Yud Kei Vav Kei is spelled out b'milei alphen, meaning you expand each one of the letters with an aleph, meaning that the Yud is spelled Yud Vav Daled, the Hey is Hey Aleph, the Vav is Vav Aleph Vav, and a Hey again is Hey Aleph. If you add up all of those letters, they equal 10. So Yud Kei Vav Kei, and then Yud Kei Vav Kei b'milei alphen, meaning it's filled out with alephs, equal the equation here that we have of 4 tefachim high by arba amos wide. I also want to say that previous time I mentioned this concept of makom, and for some reason I couldn't remember it right then, but I remembered it right after we ended the shir, that Hashem's presence is called hamakom, the place, meaning we don't have a place that's exempt from Hashem. Hashem is the place. And to represent that, the word makom, excuse me, is a gematria 186. And if you take the Shem Havaya, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and a square is squared all around, it's equal on all 4 sides. So if we square each one of the letters of Yud Kei Vav Kei, in other words, Yud squared is 100, Hey squared is 25, etc., that also equals 186. So as a remez, that hamakom means Yud Kei Vav Kei in a squared off way, as comprising the essence of the world. This is what we mean. That's what I just explained. Because the light of truth shines in every place, no matter where you are, no matter who you are. Afilu im yotza ba'avonosav chutz tchum hakdusha. Even if, God forbid, or for some reason a person finds that he went outside the bounds of holiness because he sinned, Hashem is still there. Nevertheless, Adayin ein yish ba'olam. And that's a famous expression, from the Nachman. There is no despair in the world. And why is there no despair in the world? Because wherever you go in the world, you always have your Dalet Amos, and those Dalet Amos are truth and Hashem. And that's why there's no Yeush. That's why there's no Yeush, there's no despair in the world. Because through truth, Yesh lo makom b'chol makom. Through truth, he'll have a place in every place, no matter where he is, no matter where he starts to have this revelation that, oh my gosh, what have I done? I'm so far away. But even in that place, he will have his place. And as I said before, makom means yud k vav k squared. Even if it's outside the bounds of holiness. Never give up. Come back. Work with what you have there. It is enough to get you started and lead you in the right way. Misham, and also from there, he'll be able to connect himself and to return to Hashem. Because your distance, the darkness, again, as we said before, is a smoke screen. And the main thing is to do it through truth, Shuhu or Hashem, which is the light of Hashem. Which is the 4 Amos that belong to a person no matter where he is. I know I went 18 minutes over what I usually try to limit it to an hour, although I don't think that's a hard and fast rule. I don't want anybody to get too tired out, but I thank you for bearing with me, and I hope, and it's my sincerest prayer, that tonight's lesson came out clearly and cohesively and understandably, and that the bottom line is that a person, whenever they're feeling whatever they're feeling or going through in their life, start speaking things of truth, talk to Hashem, know that your challenges are not actual, they're not actual things. It's only that you don't see the solution. So speak your prayers with truth, and God willing, he will bless you with the ability to see the Yeshuos and the Eitzos that you need to solve and survive and grow close to Hashem in all situations. Stefania, David, thank you so much. Thank you all for joining me tonight, and I wish you all a very, very beautiful Shabbos.